Hello and welcome to Top Gear India. We're in the hot city of Chennai and it's a beautiful sunny day over here and we have the all-new Citroën C3 Aircross. Now this car has been much awaited ever since the launch of the C3 and the EC3. We were only expecting what Citroën is going to do next. And after they showcased the Citroën C3 Aircross, we were quite excited to actually get our hands on this car, and today we really have. And let me tell you, in flesh, in person, outside here in the sun, this car looks beautiful. I mean, look at it. It looks stunning. It's got stunning muscular proportions, but we'll get to the looks in a bit. Let's talk about why is the Citroën EC3 here. Well, the mid-size SUV segment is one that's constantly growing with constant competition coming in from different cars, from Hyundai, from Maruti, from Toyota, now even Honda with the Elevate. So it was only a matter of time before Citroën jumped in and got a piece of this pie too. On the outside, I really like the looks of it. It is in typical Citroën fashion. You've got the Y-shaped DRL over here that sort of merged with the grille. You've got a nice little monotone finish for the logo over here. You've got a little scuff plate over here, but I like the plain colors. If I have any problem so far, it's just that you only seem to have 4 colors and they've created multiple different variations with those colors, like there's a dual tone and there's a monotone color. But I wish there were more colors because it's just white, 2 shades of grey, and you have a darkish midnight blue. And I wish there were more colors to really bring out the lines and the design of this car, because I do think it has a lot of lines and those would just accentuate it further, like the ones over here on the hood. I think these look really sleek and very cool. Now if you come along the side over here of the C3, the wheels, you get a set of 17-inch wheels over here that are in these 4-spoke design, and I think they look quite smart. Come along the rear over here and you notice that the front 3/4 of the car, the rear 3/4 and the front over here, you notice how the arches really bulge out compared to how far in the door is. And they've intentionally done that to create a bit more of a muscular proportion and to make it look like the car has a much wider track than it actually does. Come along the side over here and notice this is quite long indeed compared to the C3. In fact, the C3 would end, I think, somewhere right about here, but this goes on even further. And this is supposed to be a 5+2. The one we have over here is a 5-seater, but you can get it in a 5-seater or a 5+2 option. Alright, now you come to the rear over here, and I like that Citroën has blacked out the taillights. I think it gives it a lot more of a sportier appeal, especially in this white color with the black and white mixing in. I think this looks very smart for the taillight. Unfortunately, I don't think these are LED taillights, these are halogens. Though they're smart looking halogens, but I would have preferred LEDs, because why not? Over here you have a bit of badging, as you can tell. The rear over here also, it's a bit more sculpted, like the roof over here, it ends and it gives you a nice little slope. You get a little spoiler in the back over here. Even on the roof you get 2 little haunches and a shark fin antenna. And all in all, I think there's a lot of cuts, creases and bulges on this car that really do bring out sort of like a playful nature to this sporty SUV. Alright, so let's talk about the boot now. Now, Citroën claims that this is the best in class capacity, and it is pretty high. It is 511 liters of capacity. So this is clearly more than enough space than you would need to take you and your family out for a decent sized vacation. You can in fact fill all 4 seats and have enough luggage to accommodate all 4 passengers, which is quite nice, especially when you're given the fact that this comes in a 5+2 setting. And if you do have the 5+2 setting, you can actually remove the rear seats in supposedly just 60 seconds. Now that is something we're yet to test, but even if you could remove it in just 60 seconds, or more than 60 seconds, it's okay as long as you can remove it. But yeah, quite excited. This seems like a very practical package on the face of it. Now let's step inside the car and I'll tell you what the interior is like. Alright, now on the inside of the C3 Aircross, and you can tell it's a very airy feeling cabin, especially with the use of all these light materials. The seats, they actually feel nice, supportive. I wouldn't exactly call them as comfortable as what I've experienced on the C5, but they are decently comfortable, not as comfortable as even the Honda Elevate for that matter. Now you can tell there's plenty of storage space here, so you can put a bottle here, you can put a bottle inside over there, you can put a bottle inside over here, and the same goes with your mobile phone and other things that you'd like to store. You've got nice cubby spaces in the side over here. You've got a decently sized glove box, and so storage is not the problem over here. The problem that I do have with the C3 Aircross is the fact that the build quality to me is not as nice as I expected. It leaves a lot to be desired. For example, this gear knob is the exact same one from the C3, and it feels nice to hold, but it does look a bit cheap. The steering wheel, again from the C3, to me, a car of this size and this stature, it just looks a bit too simple in my opinion. I was expecting Citroën would do something a bit more of the inside, but you can only choose between brown anodized trim bits or grey anodized trim bits, and that's about it. The seat colors stay the same, there's no difference in interior color options, and that does leave a bit to be desired. Given what Citroën is all about, and given how high of a standard the C5 sets in its segment, I just don't see this being that premium of an experience. This seems more budget friendly. I mean, look at that, you got scratchy plastics everywhere, and everything from even the doorknob, and I just wish Citroën put a bit more effort into the things that you as a driver or a passenger are going to interact with a lot more often, and that in that area it does leave a bit to be desired. But otherwise, in terms of space, in terms of just overall practicality, it's not a bad place to be. Sure, there's no sunroof, there's no panoramic sunroof, there's no LED lights also in fact on the inside. I highly doubt you even get any ambient lights. The music system is pretty average. But yeah, it's really the pricing that will put this interior into perspective for me, because if this is going to be priced as one of the highest, then I don't think I'm going to be very interested. But if this undercuts all of its competitors and just gives you the necessities, then I think Citroën is going to make quite a proposition for a lot of buyers. So on the C5, you'd get like a tiny matchbox size speedometer, which just looked horrible, speedometer. But on the C3 Aircross, you get this nice little TFT over here, and it's a 7-inch TFT. It's nothing to brag about, but it's simple, it's not customizable, it tells you what you need to know, and it's definitely an upgrade over the regular C3. But I wouldn't exactly call it the best, but still, something better than nothing. Now let's go in the back seat and let's see what that's like. Now in the back seat of the C3 Aircross, and again, very airy, very spacious. You got more than enough headroom. I got plenty of legroom. The seat is set to my driving position. I'm 6 feet for reference, and I can tell you, I have no issues with legroom. I can tuck my legs in comfortably under the seat. And yeah, you even have an armrest over here. So this is a comfortable back seat. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you got a nice big window over here. Unfortunately, there's no tech wizardry as such. You got two Type A charging sockets over here, one Type A in the front. I don't know why there isn't a Type C yet, but there should have been at least one Type C, if not, maybe a wireless charging socket. But yeah, everything else is very simple. It's very neat basis. In fact, the window controls aren't even located over here. The window controls are located here on the front. And yeah, like I said, if you touch the materials and you feel it, it doesn't feel too expensive. But if you keep your hand on the armrest over here and here, then yeah, you won't really care, because it's nice. It's got a bit of leather. It's an airy cabin, especially with the white interior. I think this would make for a great back seat. And if you are the kind of person who's going to be taking your family around, your family won't be complaining in the back over here. This is the, like I said earlier, this is the five-seater model. We're yet to exchange with another journalist and get our hands on the 5+2. So once we do that, we'll show you what the +2 is going to be like and what's in there. But so far, yeah, this is nice. The recline angle is quite nice. Can you adjust the recline, I wonder? Okay, perhaps we can't adjust the recline on the 5-seater model. I think we can on the 5+2. But yeah, this is a nice comfy place and no complaints here. Now in the back over here, it is a tight squeeze for someone like me. I'm sitting with my knees quite up, as you can tell. This is best suited for children, and my knees are pressed up against the bench, but I still fit. My headroom fits. I think in terms of shoulder room, 2 people should be able to sit back here. Although I don't see this as a full-time place to be, I see this as an occasional thing. You also get an additional AC control over here in the back, which isn't nearly as strong as the AC in the front. You know, the whole tropical AC that Citroën has, this is quite weak. In fact, it blows mildly cold air at you, while the front AC is really strong. So I wish they could match that, but yeah, that's my only gripe, and so much for that. Alright, driving impressions of the Citroën C3 Aircross. Now this is powered by a very familiar 1.2 litre engine that produces about 110 bhp of power and 190 Nm of torque. And it's got a healthy dose of punch. Let me show you what this engine can do. Again, slot it into whatever gear you want. I'm in third gear right now, and it pulls nice and cleanly with a good strong surge of power. It's a 6-speed gearbox, so cruising, again, I slide it into 6th gear, and here you're cruising at about 70 kilometers per hour, barely idling above 1500 RPM, and it's a quiet, relaxed, really potent engine that I really enjoy. Now, does it make the most power and most performance in its segment? No, it doesn't. Does it make the least power and least performance in its segment? No, it doesn't. It sits somewhere in the middle over there, and I do think that this is quite an enjoyable engine gearbox combination. The driving experience. Now, we were told that the Citroën C3 has been designed to tackle our roads and our bad roads, and quite frankly speaking, when you drive it on the street, there are a lot of things you notice. For example, there's a lot of noise coming in, a lot of road noise, exterior noise, and these things don't exactly make you feel like you're in the most robust vehicle out there. But when you take this car off-road, which we did for a brief moment, and they did take us through some different kind of obstacles off-road, and during that time I did notice that the C3 was quite composed off-road, surprisingly. But when you're on-road, you see these rumble strips, you can hear everything break into the cabin. For example, here's me driving on a set of reflectors. I don't know if you guys can hear it. There. It is audible, you can feel it, and it's not that the suspension is foolproof that you won't feel a thing. You will feel a thing. It's just that it does a pretty good job dampening it while also managing some balance between handling and ride quality. Now, the brakes again perform really well. It stops on a dime. I do not feel like I needed any more braking performance out of it. I did get to try the reverse camera, and yeah, it's not the most clearest one out there, but it does the job. Now, about the ground clearance. Ever since the Honda Elevate came out, that currently sits as the tallest car in a segment, I mean, at least in terms of ground clearance, at 220 mm. This sits at about 200 mm, so more than capable of taking on bad roads in India. However, now one thing that I did notice about the C3 Aircross that I didn't like so much is the steering. I feel like it's a bit too hard. At higher speeds on the highway, that's perfectly fine, but at lower speeds, it can be a bit tedious. It is something that takes a bit of getting used to, and I don't know why the steering is as hard as it is, but it is what it is. So to sum up my experience with the C3 Aircross so far, it has been quite a mixed bag, quite honestly speaking. Now the unit I specifically had seemed to have had few problems. For example, when I turn on the lights, I could hear a buzzing sound coming from the display. The driver's seat would not budge from its position. It was very hard to get it to move front or back. It was a two-man job or sometimes a one-man job with a lot of work. And a few other things, the plastic quality to me didn't seem all that impressive. A few little things that I noticed here and there that to me felt a bit subpar, and something that I'm not used to seeing from a brand like Citroën, especially when you experience the C5 and see the kind of luxuries it has and the way it kind of one-ups the competition in every way possible. But that being said, I did switch over to another car and I didn't notice any of those problems, but some of them did still persist. Like for example, the plastic quality didn't exactly get better. It is still not the best, I would say, and there is a lot of plastic, so you are bound to touch a few plastic pots, you are bound to interact with plastic, and I think it's the pricing that would really sort of like put things into perspective. Secondly, now in light of Citroën's Latin NCAP ratings that just came out last month, where they scored a 0 with the C3, I think that again, it showed because Citroën never said anything, never mentioned anything during their entire briefing. They never brought up safety once, which is quite surprising for a brand, an automotive manufacturer, not wanting to mention safety. When they spoke about they spoke about suspension, they spoke about ease of use, they spoke about livability, practicality. Safety seems to be an important aspect that they should have mentioned. And I think they didn't mention it because they are well aware of the Latin and CAP ratings and would probably not comment on it. So with that regard, I cannot go out on a limb and tell you that this is a really safe car. I'm not too sure, honestly, and until we don't see Citroën send their vehicles for results and see some results and tests, then so far I think they're trying to they're trying to live by the rules, the basic rules that Indian government has set for them, which is 2 airbags and so on and so forth. But there are a lot of manufacturers out there going an extra limb to make sure that they build safer cars. Take the Hyundai Extra, for example. It sits a segment below this car, but it still gives you 6 airbags as standard. So with that regard, I am a bit disappointed that Citroën hasn't gone overboard with this product. They seem to be underballing it quite a lot. They put a lot of emphasis on suspension and ride quality, and in that regard, yeah, it does perform well in certain areas. But I do think that the Honda Elevate has a slightly better ride quality and slightly more comfortable interior than this does. So with both those cars on the horizon, I really don't know how they're going to price either one. But for the C3, to me, I am impressed with the way it looks. I'm impressed with the engine gearbox combination, but everything else to me has been a bit disappointing. I like the space on the inside, but I really can't compliment any other things about the car, and that is a bit sad. So I look forward to sort of finding out what the pricing is, because to me, the only thing that's going to put anything in perspective, it's going to be the price. If Citroën manages to undercut all of its competition by significant margin, I think this car makes a whole lot more sense then, and all of the criticism I have with it is irrelevant. But if it tends to be priced on the higher side, that's going to be a bit of a deal breaker. And personally, I want to see a brand like Citroën shine. I want to see them make their way to India, because I like their philosophy, I like the style, I like their approach towards building cars, and I really wish they take themselves seriously in the Indian market, as seriously as they claim that they say they do. So thank you so much for watching. This is Gavin Rodriguez, and stick around to the Top Gear India YouTube channel for further updates. Thank you so much.